Consolidating multiple domain names into a single UDRP complaint can be an incredibly efficient way for trademark owners to tackle cyber squatters. But in this video, I'm going to talk about a case that makes clear why this practice is not always the right choice and needs to be taken seriously. As I discussed in episode number 9 of my masterclass on domain name disputes, the UDRP, or Uniform Domain Name Dispute Resolution Policy, specifically contemplates cases involving multiple domain names. In fact, the UDRP rules say that a complaint may relate to more than one domain name, provided that the domain names are registered by the same domain name holder. And as I discussed in that earlier video, the key for a trademark owner is to establish that multiple domain names are in fact held by a single registrant, an issue that has become increasingly complicated in recent years given the popularity of privacy and proxy services, the European Union's GDPR, or General Data Protection Regulation, and just a general tendency among cyber squatters simply to provide false contact information when registering domain names. Now, when I filed the largest UDRP complaint that has ever been filed for more than 1,500 domain names in 2009, these challenges didn't exist, or at least they were much less prevalent than they are today. Still, UDRP complaints that include multiple domain names, whether it's just 2 or a dozen or more, are not uncommon. I think the largest UDRP complaint that I filed last year involved 26 domain names. But in the case I want to talk about in this video, a trademark owner that tried to include 14 domain names in a single UDRP complaint was rejected by a panelist who found that consolidation was not appropriate. The complaint was filed by a company called Phoenix International Limited, which is a frequent filer of domain name disputes with more than 150 cases at WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization. Now, Phoenix operates the website known as OnlyFans, which describes itself as an 18-plus subscription platform for creators, although the New York Times has more bluntly called it the hottest site in the adult entertainment industry. But for purposes of this discussion, Phoenix's business is really not relevant, since I'm just focused on the issue of domain name consolidation, as I said at the outset. And in the case I'm talking about, Phoenix included 14 domain names in one UDRP complaint. And according to the decision, it argued that consolidation was appropriate even though there were multiple registrants involved. And that's because Phoenix argued that all of the registrants were actually the same person or entity, that they were all connected to each other, and that they were under common control. Now, among other things, Phoenix said that all of the disputed domain names lead to websites that allow users to access content pirated from its services, that they use similar header menus, resolve to websites with the same layout or similar content, use similar fonts or logos, they offer the same services, product plans, and prices, and all of the domain names were registered with the same 3 registrars. So at first glance, this seems like a compelling case for consolidation, and it looks like it may satisfy many of the factors set forth in the WIPO overview on this topic, which I also discussed in episode 9 of my masterclass. But the UDRP panelist was not convinced, and after noting that registrants of 2 of the disputed domain names had filed responses stating that they were not associated with the other domain names, the panelist said that Phoenix had not clearly substantiated its claims for consolidation. As to the similarities among the different websites associated with the domain names, the panelists seemed to indicate that they may have all used the same CMS, or content management system, which is employed by some video sharing websites, but that there were differences among the sites, such as the number of columns, header menus, fonts, logos, and links. And the panelists said that although all of the sites displayed adult content, they offered different product plans and prices. And the panelists also found that the use of similar generic words and top-level domains did not establish common control. And the panelists wrote that although there were stolen names and or incorrect addresses associated with the registration records, Phoenix had failed to establish what it called a plausible link among these irregularities. As a result, the decision ends as follows. The panel concludes that there is insufficient evidence to support a finding that common control exists. Given the above reasons, the panel rejects the complainant's request to have the complaint filed against multiple respondents. Accordingly, the panel will give no further consideration to the disputed domain names within this proceeding and the complainant may file new UDRP proceedings, should it wish to do so, in respect of these disputed domain names. Now, since this decision was issued, Phoenix has followed up with at least 5 new and separate complaints for 5 of the domain names in the original case. Now, interestingly, it has won 4 of those disputes and lost 1 because it failed to establish that the domain name was identical or confusingly similar to its trademark. It's unclear why Phoenix has not filed separate complaints for all 14 of the original domain names. In any event, the lesson for trademark owners here is that it's important to make a strong and well-documented case for consolidation when including multiple domain names in a single complaint. While consolidation is attractive, failing to make the case could lead to additional expenses and delays that could have been avoided by filing multiple complaints from the beginning. If you want to learn more about the UDRP, please check out my masterclass on domain name disputes, as well as other resources on my GigaLaw website. And be sure to subscribe to the GigaLaw YouTube channel to be notified of future videos discussing other internet legal issues. Thanks for watching, and see you next time online.